Hey new player, I'm going to let you in on a secret about your character. Your character is a living, breathing individual in another world. Or at least that is how we want you to approach your character. Like they are real, like they are alive. For example, there's another character in your group that needs something. They need gold. And you as a player, you're thinking, oh, I can just give them some of my gold and they can just get that thing. But in the real world, if you're given money, or you earn it, whatever, do you just freely hand that money out to your friends? Like give away half your wealth without thinking about it? No. So that gold is real money to that character. And in most cases, they would be like you, right? They wouldn't just freely give it away, even if somebody was having a hard time. Maybe to save someone's life, but to help them with training? Probably not. Are you telling me the game wouldn't be better overall if you simply looked at your character like the character was alive? And just realistically approached things like as if it was a serious issue to the character, as if it would be to you if it were something happening in real life. If you simply just played the game that way, well, first off, you'd have to artificially start doing it. Like if you're not already doing it, you'd have to force yourself to do it, meaning remind yourself for a session or two to do it. But the tediousness will go away after a session or two of just consistently doing this, and it will become a habit. You'll just start naturally doing it, and that tediousness goes away. But the overall game benefits if you play the character like they're a living being that's going to react to things like you would in the real world. So I frowned upon dirty tricks that come from knowing game stats by players, right? Like knowing stats about the character where the character really wouldn't know this stuff. But I'll actually praise dirty deeds, cheap things if they're done realistically. Like I could see the character doing that cheap thing. Well, then you can use that to your benefit, and it's an interesting strategy. And it makes you have to really think. It really pushes the player. It's really easy to look at the mechanics and find loopholes, right? But when you look at a lot of it, you realize the character probably wouldn't even understand these things to take advantage of the loophole. So it's so extremely unrealistic. In a way, I almost feel like it's cheating because the character really wouldn't know this stuff, so you're cheating for the character. I don't mind cheap deeds or cheap things being done, but it should be based on what the character really would know, right? Again, I want you to come at it like your character is a living, breathing person. What's great about approaching the game in a realistic way is it improves your role play. And what you're doing is really relatable to the other players and the game master because it's realistic, it sells better, it can be more entertaining, it's more interesting. And just imagine, what it's like when you have to sort of put your head down and do the thing the character would do rather than the thing that you want to do. Like what you would do as a player in a video game, you're not going to do there. You're going to do what you think the character would do. Well, you get a little smile on your face, you have to take a risk, it's exciting, it's not boring. It's not a generic video game where you're playing the game that way. And this is what makes a tabletop role-playing game unique. This is the thing you can't do in the video game. And in my opinion, this is what makes tabletop role-playing games more advanced than, say, some MMO video game, because you can do more. There's no limits. There's no invisible wall. There's nothing like that. Why is this important? Well, let me ask you. Now, is there a lot of video games that are like MMOs, RPGs, already on the market, where you can do a bunch of generic things? Well, yes, there is, isn't there? So you tell me, would you rather just sit down and play one of them, or take hours of your life working on something that can produce way more than that, but you only sit down and produce that? The generic thing, right? Where you're moving the miniature, you're not looking at your character like it's a living being, you're playing the video game. Well, why not just go play the video game? Why spend any amount of time like that in your life? And you can socially do it. They're multiplayer MMOs. You can do all that. And if you want to get together with your friends, you can play poker, you can play Monopoly, you can do all kinds of things that are way easier. And then again, you can go to an MMO that's going to produce the generic experience that I guess you're trying to get with a tabletop role-playing game for some reason. I would say stop that. Take a unique approach because the game allows you. And then see what the game has to offer that's more than some MMO video game. right? If you're just moving around a miniature and the character isn't like a living person to you, it's just some generic character like a video game. Well, guess what you're getting? You're getting a video game at the table, right? Oh no, I think you're wasting your time. And this is why you should do these unique things. They're not hard. They bring a lot of depth to the game, to the character, to your experience. I've never really heard the concept of first-person roleplay versus third-person roleplay until I got online. I understand what they're talking about. People that don't really directly roleplay, do dialogue in the game, they'll say what their character is saying but won't say it. I really think at the end of the day, first-person roleplay is what the hobby is really looking for. If you want to do third-person roleplay, again, you can go to the MMO. And I'm not telling you not to enjoy it. I'm not telling you not to do it or that it's wrong. I'm just saying you can produce it as well in things that are way easier to do. It's that first-person roleplay and character development through that and answering questions that can be very unique. It's not scripted. It is what separates a tabletop role-playing game from a video game. If you're not doing that, if you're being very generic about how you're going to the merchant without doing the dialogue, well, again, you can do that in video games, right? All this stuff is already produced and produced easier, and you can have more fun because it's quicker. You don't got to spend hours doing that. Why would you want to spend hours doing something and then produce only what the video game produces when you can produce a lot more? And you don't need to be an actor that does voices. You only need to speak as yourself when you're doing dialogue and character. Describe what your character, sounds like if you want to. And make sure you only speak words you think your character would say because you're portraying the character. You don't want to speak like you in that way. But you don't need to change your voice. A tone helps. So if your character's happy, you don't want to have a sad tone. So try to make sure that the tone of your voice matches. If you're angry, be aggressive. If your character's happy, be positive, right? But that's it. That's all you have to do dialogue. You can talk just like me, add some tone. That's it. That's all you got to do. You don't got to be a voice actor or nothing. But that is my take on first-person and third-person role-playing. I think third-person, again, goes back to just producing what video games already produce. So this is why I frown at some things like third-person role-playing or role-playing as if your character is just some character in a video game. Because all that stuff can already be produced. It's boring as far as I'm concerned. I wouldn't spend my time doing it because, again, it's already produced elsewhere. I want to work on what is unique to tabletop role-playing games. The thing I can't get at the video game, right? I want to work on that and have that experience. And if I just want to have the video game experience, I'll go play the video game, right? That's my take on it anyway. For now, take care. You know what you can do? You can hit the like button. You can share the video. Oh, and there's another button you can press. That one that lets you subscribe to my channel for more content. Oh yeah, there's that bell thing. You can press that so you know when I've uploaded a new video right away.